From the Savannah to the Midland and the Atlantic, Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the home front and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the home front and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you that it is becoming more and more evident that the former British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonians, will soon emerge as the newest nation in the world.
We are calling on all of us to start preparing to receive Ambazonia as parents prepare to receive their firstborn child. Malcolm X said, tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. We are already very educated, talented, and very rich in natural resources. Do all this guarantee a safe and prosperous Ambazonia? The answer is an emphatic no. Theodore Roosevelt said, to educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace in society.
Ambazonians, it is time to start planning to restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic to Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.
Our local government areas and counties, are you prepared? Do you have an ethics commission in your local government areas, counties to serve as a moral compass for you? Do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Ethics Code and the Constitution?
All arms of government, do you have an ethics agency? Departments of DSS, HSS, Communications and IT, Education, DHACM, DFA and DEINR. Do you have ethics agency to serve as a moral compass for your departments?
Ambazonians, you need to know your rights by reading the Ethics Code and the Constitution.
Shame unethical behavior and reward good behavior in your communities. Hold leaders accountable. Be the watchdog of your communities and governments. See something, say something.
The church, you are the main research center of moral principles with the responsibility of moralizing the society. How effective are you outside the church building?
Maya Angelou said, when you know better, then you do better. Ambazonians, watch Ethics for an Emerging Ambazonia every Friday at 10 p.m. Amba time.
Exclusively on ABC Amba TV. Stay tuned.
Get trained as an IT professional from the comfort of your home. Dynamic Tech Academy gives you a unique opportunity through our 6-month program, during which you learn skills to transition to being a full-time IT professional. Over 80% of our students have no prior IT background, yet the vast majority of them land jobs a month after they start applying. Our ultimate goal is to reach 100% student placement So we work with every student until he or she gets a job. Upon successful completion of the course, we will give you a resume, interview preps, one-on-one coaching from experienced instructors, and job placement assistance. Within this course, you get more than 300 hours of theories combined with real-world applications and practical skills you can apply on day one on your job. At the end of the program, our students can be certified as Red Hat Systems Administrator, AWS Cloud Engineer, AWS Security Specialist. Visit our website at www.dynamictechacademy.com to register. Get trained as an IT professional from the comfort of your home. Dynamic Tech Academy gives you a unique opportunity through our 6 months program, during which you learn skills to transition to being a full-time IT professional. Over 80% of our students have no prior IT background, yet the vast majority of them land jobs a month after they start applying. Our ultimate goal is to reach 100% student placement, so we work with every student until he or she gets a job. Upon successful completion of the course, we will give you a resume, interview preps, one-on-one coaching from experienced instructors, and job placement assistance. Within this course, you get more than 300 hours of theories combined with real-world applications and practical skills you can apply on day one on your job. At the end of the program, our students can be certified as Red Hat Systems Administrator, AWS Cloud Engineer, AWS Security Specialist. Visit our website at www.dynamictechacademy.com to register.
Okay, Dr. Titanta, I'm taking you live now. As soon as you get live, just start speaking. Go right ahead, you're live, please.
Good evening, fellow Amazonians. Good evening to every viewer tonight. You are all welcome to one of your very favorite program, Ethics for an Emerging Nation for Amazonia. Tonight, we'll be having a very packed program. We have a special guest for tonight, the Secretary of State for the Department of Education. So we want to say thank you all for tuning in to the program tonight. We are glad to have all of you from ground zero, from home front, everyone in the diaspora who has joined us tonight for us to educate ourselves, because we believe and we know our nation is free and is only waiting to be installed in our government, to be installed in Buya. So I would like to welcome tonight the panelists, my co-panelists, which is your usual host, Barrister Tim Mbesea. So I would like him to come and introduce himself. You're welcome, Barrister.
Thank you very much. I hope most people already know me, and hope to continue the discussion. As I always say, we believe that people watching us should, by the end of the day, have learned something new or be reminded of something they knew and might have forgotten. So thank you for having me. I hope to do my best to enlighten us where it is possible.
As I said, the topic for the day is ethics in the Department of Education for Ambazonia. And who else would help to enlighten us on this topic better than our own Secretary of State, Professor Epote? So I would like to welcome her into the program tonight. You're welcome, Professor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Titanta. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, everybody can hear you, please.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Greetings to all Ambazonians, especially those at the home front. Special greetings to our ARFs who are defending our land. Greetings to those of you who are here with me in the studio, and greetings to all our viewers. As already mentioned, I am the SOS for the Department of Education and Strategic Collaboration, and I'm very happy to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
So as usual, we always would like to have a recap of the discussions we had in the previous program. So I would love to invite Barrister Tim to give us a brief summary of what was discussed last time. So Barrister Tim, the microphone is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before I go to enlighten that, people should not be surprised to see me sitting here. Barrister, everything. No, I'm a barrister, no doubt. But my initial career, I was a teacher. I taught for so many years. So I'm an educationist. So that probably gives me a reason to be here. That said, what we're doing today is a second session of ethics on education. Last week was essentially based on the education performance, teachers, pupils, and the rest who are involved in education. So we discussed the relationship between teachers and children. We discussed the relationship between parents and children. Ethically, I mean, we should understand what I mean. Ethically, what a teacher should do or should not do, what a child should do or should not do, what a parent should do or should not do ethically to one another in the field of education. So that's overall what we did. Today is going to be focused still on education, but with a different emphasis. If I read the topic and understood it well, today is basically on the institution, Department of Education. How are we going to treat ethics in that department? So that's the difference. Today we are dealing with the department. Last time we dealt with the participants, the actors in education ethically. So I think in summary, that's what it is all about.
For that. And before we invite our guests to present to us, I would like, first of all, for us Ambazonian to listen to why. What is the reason for us to have an ethical commission in while a revolution is going on? Ambazonia liberation movement is very unique compared to other revolutions in the world. It is unique because of the institution of an ethics commission during war. Our forefathers had the foresight of the uphill battle we face to repair the destroyed moral fabric of Ambazonia. What holds a nation together is its moral values. La République of Cameroon's invasion and occupation of Ambazonia has taken a moral toll on Ambazonia, making moralizing Ambazonia again a battle we must fight to win. The assault on our morality began when La République du Cameroon took out civic from our school curriculum. The importance of ethics in a nation cannot be overemphasized. This is the right time for ethics awareness campaigns in all tiers of government and communities in the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Edmund Burke once said, "Liberty does not exist in the absence of morality." Ethics for an Emerging Nation is an educational program to help you with the information and tools that you need to moralize your communities and governments. Since the onset of this program, we have been working on topics such as developing templates that will enable us Ambazonians to report conflict issues. We have been discussing issues like financial conflict of interest. We have been discussing issues like the need for an ethical leadership in our government. We have discussed issues concerning such as guidelines for receiving gifts by members of our government, every tier of our government, whether be it local government or our federal government. We have also discussed issues concerning the misuse of position. Like we come from La Republic where when people are given positions of authority, they can just misuse it and do whatever they want with it. No, in Ambazonia, it will not be so. We have also discussed the role of the people in upholding an ethical Ambazonia. It is your role, your duty, citizen. You have a fundamental role to make sure that your society, wherever you live, whatever village you are living, whatever quarter you find yourself in, that ethical behaviors are enhanced. We discussed about the standard for the code of ethics for all Ambazonians. We also discussed about ethics in business environments, ethics in media, ethics in sports and culture. We invited these departments that are involved to come and talk to us about this. Fellow Ambazonians, we encourage you to go back and watch those shows again on our own TV, ABC Amba TV, whether on Facebook or on YouTube. By so doing, you'll be able to acquaint yourselves and help to moralize your community. When we are done with all of this, we may come back to you, if we have not yet arrived Boya, to ask you to come back and tell us how these educational programs have impacted your own department or your own society, wherever you find yourself. So with this, I would like to call on our guest to give us her own presentation. Tell us about what she as the head of that department is doing to make sure that that department stands tall on ethical issues. Ma'am, you are welcome.
Thank you again, Dr. Titanta. As a department, let me begin by saying that the Department of Education and Strategic Collaboration is the custodian, the mandate to educate the people of Ambazonia at all and across all tiers of government. So it is our responsibility to make sure that everyone in Ambazonia is educated. And education is not necessarily only education that we get in the classroom, but it's and all-round education. The main purpose of education is to create and develop skills in individuals, equip them with knowledge, and spread awareness of the moral values and the rules that govern the societies. So, as a department, we have that responsibility to make sure that we develop the skills of Amazonians and that we equip them with knowledge and make them aware of the moral values and the rules that govern our nation. Um, for the purpose of today's presentation, let me just focus on the part that speaks to spreading awareness of the moral values and the rules that govern societies, because this is where ethics actually comes in. As you know, ethics is all about the moral principles that guide and govern our daily activities, our daily actions, and it also guides institutions. And therefore, as a department, we are an institution, and our institution will be guided by, or is guided by, ethical principles, moral principles, and values. Now, due to the complexity of education, ethics is undoubtedly a weapon and a tool that we as educators have to use. As educational policymakers and as school communities, etc., etc., we need to make use of ethics as a tool in order for us to be able to make ethical decisions and ethical recommendations, if I can put it that way. Therefore, as a department, ethics will be at the center of the development of all educational policies in Amazonia. We will be focusing on the implementation of ethics for school administration, for teachers, for students, everything about education in general. I think let me talk a bit about ethics at the different levels that are teachers, students, school administrators. I'll begin with teachers. When we talk ethics for teachers, for us as a department, being educators, teaching itself is founded on ethics. And when we talk of teaching being founded on ethics, whether you want to look at it at the level of teacher-student relationship, whether you are looking at it at the level of pluralism, or at the level of teachers' relationship with other teachers, etc., you will find that all of this is grounded on ethics. As a result, teachers are more or less custodians of ethical values, and they are expected to instill these values in their students. As you all know, educators are expected to help students by teaching them not only the school subjects, but also, and even more importantly, valuable life lessons, which will have positive impact on the lives of these students. And this, they can only teach them through good, by them being ethical themselves as teachers. That is how they can be able to instill these in the students as well. So when it comes to this, you'll agree with me that are role models for students. Many of us are what we are today because for one reason or another, we looked up to one teacher or another as a role model and decided to say, I would like to be like him or her. So as role models, teachers should or are expected to follow professional codes which will help them to carry out their duties successfully and impact on the students the way they should. Now, what this implies to us as a department is that we will have a professional code of for teachers, which will ensure that teachers give students a fair, honest, and uncompromising education. The code will outline the primary responsibilities of teachers vis-a-vis their students, and it will also define the role of the student of the teacher in the life of a student. So teachers will be able to know their place and their in or what they are expected, the role they are expected to play in the life of every student. So as a department, we will make that teachers adhere to the basic core values of teaching. Four basic core values. There are other values, but four of them are basic and core, which we will ensure that teachers follow. And these are dignity, truthfulness, fairness, and responsibility and freedom. By dignity, I am referring to a situation here where teachers have to show what we call respect for humanity, meaning that teachers have to respect every student, regardless of the gender, regardless of the appearance of the student, the age, the religion, the social standing, etc., etc. It doesn't matter who that student is, they have to be respected. So that is one core value that teachers will have to adhere. And then for truthfulness, we are simply expecting that every teacher has to be honest to themselves and to others. So honesty has to be with yourself and with others as well. And they have to have mutual respect especially in terms of communication. You communicate to others with respect. It doesn't matter who you are communicating with, whether it is a student, a parent, a school administrator, you have to do that with respect. So this will be something that teachers will actually have to adhere to. And in terms of fairness, we just want teachers to be fair by promoting equality and non-discrimination, and also by avoiding favoritism. We have a situation where people are given preferential treatment simply because they are this or that, they come from there. We don't want a situation where any student, for any reason, will feel that they are a second class student and others are better than them. So there should be that fair treatment given to every student in Ambazonia. So these are some of the things that we will expect our teachers in terms of the ethical values, principles that they have to portray. In all, I will say that teachers are ethically obligated to serve the learning needs of all the students. And to do this, they have to recognize, understand, and appreciate the different perspectives, different cultural backgrounds, different values, different beliefs, etc., which students come with them to school. Most students come with different background, with which kind, conditions the way they do certain things. And as teachers, we expect that you take that into consideration dealing with the students. These are some of the ethical considerations that we as a department will expect from teachers. Now, let me talk briefly about the students. Ethics for students. Like with teachers or educators, also have a code of conduct and ethics for students. So there will be a code of conduct and ethics for teachers, but there will also be a code of conduct and ethics for students. Um, we will have standards, standards of conduct, standards of performance, and standards of ethics for our students, and make them understand in broad terms, not necessarily in minute details, but in broad terms, make them understand, expect of them in their behavior. So we know ethics is important for students. We cannot overemphasize that. And with through ethics, students will be able to, categorize discipline, honesty, and integrity in their actions. And this is why we will have to make sure that they adhere to the code and conduct, the code of conduct and ethics for students. In this code, the code will also act as a guide, because we will outline, give them some guide. It will help in influencing their behavior, like I said before, in making in allowing them to make the right decisions. And we are hoping that through ethics, students will be able to take responsibility for their own actions and for their own decisions, and be more honest, more truthful, um, and act within the law. So students will be taught what they need to know about ethics, both in and outside the classroom. This and is an attempt to make sure that we have students who are ethical, and if our students are ethical, we can be sure of having a nation which is ethical as well, because of course students are the future of every nation. So when they are grounded in ethical values and principles, it is obvious that the nation itself will also be grounded in those values and principles. The last category that I will talk to tonight is the category of administration. So this will be ethics for the administration or administrators. You will agree with me that ethical leadership is of great importance in any educational system. For the Amazonian educational system is taking ethics to be of paramount importance in every aspect. Ethics in education will often in the smooth running of the educational system. The administrative processes, when they are done ethically, obviously the educational system will be run more effectively. There will be accountability will be provided. The public will be able to get what they need in a fair manner. All stakeholders will be able to receive what they expect in a fair and respectful manner. And even the administrators themselves will be able to operate with integrity, fairness, honesty, and what have you. So this also means that we will have a code of ethics for school administrators as well, just like we have for the team and the students. So, in other words, we will have a policy on ethics in education, which will define the code of ethics for each of the category of stakeholders that we have in the Department of Education and Strategic Collaboration. Administrators have to be people who are honest, people who are independent in terms of opinion and decision making, people who are competent, who can actually do the job, not putting people in, in positions because they are related to X or Y, and also people who are committed to doing their best. So these are some of the things that the Department of Education and Strategic Collaboration is going to sure that they put in place, so that as a matter of principle, all persons will be treated fairly, they will be treated equally, and people under this department will be able to observe the law and follow the directions set by the department. And we are hoping that once this is put in place, then we will be able to have Department of Education and Strategic Collaboration that is grounded in moral values and principles. I think that is what I will say for now.
Elaborate, very detailed, very insightful, very deep. I have been taking notes, and I'm telling you, I'm sure fellow Amazonians, you are watching, you have been listening, and I'm sure some of you have been taking notes. So I have actually taken some points here. There are points that I heard, like the Department of Education is not only involved in educating the children of Amazonia, but it's involved in the education of all Amazonians. I love that, because we need to be re-educated, because we have been, our educational system has so damaged us, even some of us, the elderly people. And that is the consequence. What we see is the consequence. What we're seeing right now in our revolution is the consequence of the poor education that we had through this corrupt relationship we have with our Republic of Cameroon. I can bet you tonight that we have seasoned, seasoned educators, people who know what, people who know their job, people who know what Ambazonia needs when we hit Buya and run. So I have just some few questions before maybe I don't know whether Barrister Team has questions before me. Then I will have some questions for the SOS. Barrister Team, you can come in here. I know you have a vast experience with our own educational system on when we were in former British West Cameroon. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and give your own input to what you have heard tonight?
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have questions, but I want to have something to say to complement what the secretary has said. This is what it is all about. We know that the Department of Education that we call today in this interim government is the Ministry of Education in gestation. Okay, to Boya, it will no longer be just a department, it will be a whole ministry that will oversee education. And since we're not yet in Boya, we're preparing how we are going to do it when we get there. We don't have teachers now. We don't have anything. But we have to lay out our principles on how we'll do it when we do there. And then it will be good for us to recall that we have said that we have restored West Cameroon, Southern Cameroon government and institutions. So, as far as education is concerned, we are restoring our Department of Education or our Ministry of Education as it was. As it was. What was our Ministry of Education? What were they doing specifically ethically? The first thing they did as a ministry overseeing education was to pull out an education policy, a national education policy, which was printed out. When we were in college, I was in a teacher training. We studied the education policy of West Cameroon as a subject. It was studied as a subject in school. I still have a copy of it here. As far as ethics is concerned, what
Barrister
is
Tim, could you kindly bring your camera down as always so that we can see your face clearly? Thank you.
is that
This is
okay?
much better. Yes,
So
Professor Porte, just the same. Thank you.
what the education policy, which defined exactly what the government was trying to achieve. And as far as ethics is concerned, let me just give you a summary of what it said. They said that West Cameroon education policy was to train a whole person educationally, morally, and culturally. That's what the guideline. Then they went down and explained everything inside there. That's the role of the Ministry of Education, the Department of Education, in preparing this thing we call ethics. But then how was it done? Just to put out a policy is not enough. How to implement it is what was important. It took the government about 2 years, between 1963 and 1964, to come out with the policy. And once it was established, they now set up the policy of training teachers who go out and implement these policies. West Cameroon, Southern Cameroon was not like we have today. The majority of schools, which were essentially primary schools and even secondary schools, they were all mission owned. The teacher training colleges that opened in 1965, 66, 65, and 66 were all mission owned. Baptist, Presbyterian, Catholics, and so on. There were about 10 or more. Government had only one teacher training college. That is the higher teacher training college in Kumba. That was the only one for government. The rest, Sopo, Inyasoso, wherever Tatum, they were all mission owned. And then when you went there to train, you were given the ethics on how you were going to do it. But you were going to be deployed, we were going to be deployed in the villages. And when you got to the village as a teacher, you were the eye, you were the ear, you were everything of the village. The people, the village came and greeted you, they brought you food. You were their king. You were their village interpreter. When the one man came there, whoever came to visit them. But what was on ethics? What was told to you? You're going to live with the people there. The first thing you did was upon arriving there, you know that there's a village. In this village, there's a chief. Go to that chief. Find out how do they get the chief. If they are clapping, go and clap. If they are kneeling, go and kneel. The chief knows that you're a big man. In fact, no one was having a salary. But for you to go and kneel before the chief or clap before the chief was wonderfully ethical. You were their own eyes. You were everybody. They look up to you. And you were told, what? If they are looking up to you. For example, if you are a man, most of us were men, I start to follow their woman, you fall with you. So ethically, this thing was not, has to be, we have to restore that. Now, fast forward, we are now 2022, 50 years after those events. We've not lost everything. What the sector has said is perfectly correct. But how are we going to do it is a problem. How are we going to do it? At that time, in the 1960s to 72, there were school fees being paid in schools, in primary schools, not even the talk about secondary. School fees was paid. There was no financial clerk. You paid it to a class teacher who collected this money and brought a mere account of it. So you were not allowed to eat the money. If you stole the money, there was reason for you to be punished. First, they had to cut it from your salary. They had to demote you or transfer you or do something, a consequence for that unethical behavior. And let me give this example. I was a glaring example of one of those things. When I left school in 1972, they had stopped paying school fees from class 1 to class 4. I was teaching standard, class 6, not standard 6, class 6, where there were school fees. By 1972, they were coming and taking over everything. They were not even paying the salary they were due. The government of West Cameroon was paying salaries to all these missionary bodies as well as voluntary agencies. Then they would turn and pay us. Since they were not paying us, since the government was not giving the guns anymore from Yaoundé, that was the first year they took over the country in 1972. What to depend on the small school fees that the children were paying. That was not enough to pay everybody. But those of us who were teaching fee-paying classes, we collected all the money, took it to the headmaster, who would share it rationally to all the teachers, 5,000, 2,000, 500. He did not take the money and keep it alone. And so one of us, who was teaching classes A and B, another guy teaching class 7, he took the money and went to open his bank account. So we had no money because he had taken the money alone. Well, they were not going to take the money from his salary because there was no salary. So what would they do? They had to transfer him. That was his punishment. They transferred him to another school with instructions that he should never teach any class above class 4. He should not teach a class where they were paying school fees. That was detrimental. In those days, was not even everybody was teaching class 7. No. They demoted you from teaching class 7 to somewhere teaching infants 2. It was morally punishable. So we have to do all those things. We have to put out a policy as the Ministry of Education that would encourage ethics. Today, I think the job of ethics has been made easier. In those days, we didn't have what we call today PTA, Parent Teacher Association. They were not there. But they are there today. And we have to agree that the school community, what we call education, comprises the children, as the sector has said, comprises the teachers, it comprises the students, the parents. These are 3 components of a viable education. How are we going to teach a parent? Are you going to bring my old father who is farming in the village to go back to school? No. He has to learn, he has a role to play. If his child came to class and was so stubborn or was stealing other children's pencils, that is bad behavior. That's bad behavior. Bad behavior starts from home. Children copy what adults do. And so, now that we have PTAs, the PTA, which is not going to be individual, the PTA, overall executive, will jointly with the ministry or the department put out ethical values that will apply to every single school in the country. That is what they will do. So if you're teaching in Cambridge, it's the same rules that you're following. You're teaching in Wumi, you're teaching in Manfred, you're teaching in Boya, wherever, they're the same ethical rules that you follow. The same ethical consequences if they are broken. So that is what we hope to do in our future Ministry of Education when we get to Boya. Yes, you get everything by merit. And if you don't do it, if you don't perform well, you get the necessary punishment. People will not get jobs. In our own days, there was no allowance for headmaster. They will not give you a headmaster job just because they want to give you 6,000 francs today because you are chef de bureau. No, you have to, as a headmaster, you have to command in your own school. You command the kids, command the other teachers. It should be on merit. If you're not doing it well, there should be a procedure to replace you. There should be everything done in that way. What the morale? They said the policy said to bring a whole person morally, culturally, and educationally. This morale was chaired or led by the religious organizations. What Muslim schools? What Christian schools? Be they Catholic, Baptist, whatever, they were all Christian schools. That pastors, that priests, who were in almost every village to ensure the morality of what was going on. The morale and the etiquette and the ethics that we have are inborn. They are inborn. They are not religious, Catholic-based, Christian-based, Muslim-based. No, they are inborn tendencies in human beings. Even though today people go to school to learn ethics, it's just because someone has codified it. It's in you. If you don't develop it, you will not be there. You have to develop the ethics of respecting the elders, for example. You don't need to go to school to know that. Our parents did it. Even in a big compound, those are all come from big compounds, with 5, 6, several wives. These other wives know the role of their first woman, their senior Mbanya. She's so respected because she's the first woman in the palace or in the compound. If you take a complaint to her and she takes it to the common husband, they will listen to her. So we respected that seniority, either physical age or whatever thing. There's seniority to be respected, which has to be incorporated into our own education system. We have to try to do that. And that's to be done now formally through legislation, through some rules coordinated by the department or the Ministry of Education, wherever it is. We'll get to Boya. So that's all I can add to the Secretary's explanations.
Thank you very much, Barrister, for this. I think what I will call a historical perspective to where we were and where we are heading to. Thank you very much. And it is a successful people are those who do not forget where they are coming from and where they are going to, and what they can pick from their history and take it forward to better their society. So now, from the presentation of the Secretary of State, I got some few points that really touched me. She mentioned that ethics will be a tool that educators in Amazonia will always need to use. I really love that. I really love that because Aristotle once said that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So it should really, ethics should really be a tool that should accompany every educator need to use. I am sorry to say here that I am of the young generation. I went to the so-called ENS Yaoundé for 2 years after finishing my first degree. And I never saw any course on ethics. I never saw any course in philosophy of education. And I came out there and I was graduated and claimed to be an educator. And I knew nothing about education. So listening to our secretary, I think that we will have a better country than where we were in this bad union. There is also something that I heard that she said, which said teachers are role models in our to our students. This is what I can remember from my early days in primary and secondary school. I remember when I was growing up in Baba one in particular village. If you left school and went home and you are going with your father to your parents to the farm and you see your teacher coming from far, oh God, you want to hide. You want to hide because you don't want any communication to the teacher and your parent, your father to get into any communication, and if you talk, the teacher tell the parents about your behavior in school, or the parent talk to the teacher about your behavior at home. So it is a teacher really is the moralizing agent in our society, and I think we need to go back to that. And when I look at what is going on in the Western society today, when teachers are not really respected, I think we should pick out something and learn something and say, no, we don't want that to repeat in our own society. Ambazonia one we're trying to build. Yeah. So it is very important. Also talking about teacher being the role model. I love to always talk about my own case. For example, I left high school. In primary school, I went to secondary school, Form 1. One teacher just walked into class and asked us to get our pieces of paper. His name, I will quote his name. Maybe he's still alive, or he may still have family members to let them understand how the system we had, we are going to improve upon that and make it better. This man was called Abba Fru. He was a physics teacher. The man came into class and asked every single one of to bring out pieces of papers and said, "I'm giving you a test." Oh, we're like, oh, we just came from primary school. What is test? Physics. We have never heard about physics. He said test. He said, okay. He went on the board and wrote converting units, meters to kilometer, kilometers to grams to kilogram, all those things. And he said, collected the student and said, this is a test. And he took it home, brought it back the next day and said, oh, there is a physicist in this class. I said, who's Titanta? I said, oh, is that the small man? You are a physicist. I said, what is this word, physicist? And from that day, it just remained in me. And everywhere this man saw me, he said, this is the physicist. Even when I went to high school, I was in Form 5, my physicist. And it remained in me. And this is really, it rang a bell when Secretary will mention that teachers are role model in our society. They can make a great impact in the life of students. Thank you for that.
That's right.
I will have some questions for the Secretary of State. My question here will be concerning the fact that somebody may be asking the question, what is the need for a Department of Education within a revolution while we don't have a nation yet? What is the need to do that at this stage? What would the Secretary of State answer people who ask such questions?
Thank you for that question. Yes, we have a state as such. Well, I won't even say we don't have a state. We do have one. But coming to why the Department of Education at this stage, we don't want to wait until the last moment before we start putting things together. I think you will agree with me that when it comes to education, when it comes to a nation, especially a nation like ours, the outlook of our nation will depend mostly. I don't want to use the words, but it will depend mostly on the type of education we are going to offer to the next generation. And we won't sit and say, let's wait when we get to Boya before we start thinking of that kind of education that we will give the next generation that will make our nation that we want. We have to start thinking about that now. And that is where the department comes in, to start putting together that kind of educational system which we want for our next generation, an educational system which meets the needs of the 21st century, an educational system which will equip our children and the generation of Ambazonia with everything that they need to make a nation what it should be. So I would say if we want an Ambazonia with a booming economy, if we want an Ambazonia where our kids are able to compete with their peers in developed economies, if we want an Ambazonia whose economy should be at par with that of developed countries, then we have to start planning for that type of Ambazonia now. And we only do that by making sure that this department is there and that this department is putting everything together. So we need this department because we want to prepare the package which we will roll out immediately we get to Boya, and then start waiting for I don't know how long to put things together. So this department will put things together, and immediately we get to Boya, we start rolling out implementation. I think that is what I will say. I hope I responded to your question.
Not want to be in the dark when we are in final and we want to be when we are there, everything is in place, things are already, we had already planned. And that also speaks volume. That also speaks that it's an expression of faith that our nation is, whether come rain, come storm, the nation will be established. And therefore you need to, things you believe this, we have this faith. We have to begin to do act as if we have our nation already. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. So I have a question. I think it will be for all of us, for us to contribute, each and every one of us to contribute to this. This concerns our home front children right now. There has not been effective schooling to our children who are at the home front right now. And some of us are here in the diaspora with our children going to school. Some have had the opportunity, they had families in La Republic that escaped through and their children are going to school. Some who found themselves in ground one, their children are going to school. So we have our own people down there at the home front whose children are not going to school. What are we going to do? What is the Department of Education going to do to make sure that when people are rushing from La Republic and coming in, rushing from the West and coming in, those who were in the fire, they will not suffer. How are we going to solve this problem ethically so that there would not be an imbalance? They will not feel like they have been left out, because imagine you staying out of school for 5 years and then people coming in who had their education throughout not uninterrupted. How are we going to solve this problem ethically? What are we going to do to make sure that some kind of equal opportunity is in place for everyone? I don't know, Barrister Tim, if you have some suggestion for that.
Yeah, let me say something. But before I get to what you're asking, let me go back to the question you asked. Why do we need ethics at this time of the struggle? I think if we would ever need ethics, this is the best time we need it. Because, as I explained earlier, the principal actors in our educational system are the children, the parents, and of course the teachers. These principal actors, the children and the parents, 90% of them are internally displaced or externally displaced. They are refugees somewhere. You might have left in Kambia, you're living in Bamanda with your uncle, with your sister. You might have left Kwakwa, you're living in Kumba. You are internally displaced. These are the vulnerable children who have read this story, who have seen them even live. of children prostituting around, being forced into prostitution, or people doing terrible things just to survive, very unethical things to survive. They need this education now more than any other time before. That in spite of all the difficulties that you face, you don't have food to eat, but you don't need to go and break somebody into somebody's store.
Mm.
You don't have money to buy your part, but you don't need to go and prostitute with somebody to get money. This is unethical. Suffering comes all the time, but you don't give up your values just to survive. No, it's not going to happen. This is when we need that ethics now. Whether you are a refugee in Yaoundé, in Douala, in Kumba, in Bamenda, wherever, nobody is ever happy when you leave your own home. When you leave your hurt, wherever in the village, and come to what they call the confines of a big city, and living there, you don't even know how to use a flush toilet. That doesn't make you more comfortable. You are happy with your pit latrine in the village. So they need that education, ethical education right now, more than anything else before. And if I can stretch that to what you just asked, see, the problem of education for the underprivileged did not start today. I don't know how many of us are old enough to know that less than 20, 30 years ago, there was something in West Cameroon in particular called adult education. Your sister, your brother who are not going to school went back to school to learn something, at least to read and write. When they were growing up, there were schools there, but because they were children of kingmakers, they couldn't go to school because they feared they would flog them in school. But they realized that it will come. So there's almost, I don't think there's anything we can do right now. We're not in control of opening a school or closing a school. Those victims will be there. But if we will get to Boya, I think, we should to fashion out programs. We're not going to be explaining to the children that they know that there was war. War was not declared by us. They were not running away from us. They were running away for survival. If they are not going to school in Bamenda or in Bati, well, let me look. Those big towns have some schools, but these big towns with schools cannot accommodate every single Ambazonian child. Not all of them can escape to Bamenda or to Kumba or to Boya. No, some have nowhere to go. They live in the forest. So what are we going to do? We can only try to remedy it when we have a country. There will be programs for the retarded children, for the wounded, for those who had delivered unwanted children. There will be those programs in our own system. And before I finish, see, Madam talked about something called civics. See, there was civics in our own schools. The Francophones don't even have civics. But we did not have just civics, we had civics and moral education. That was the subject. What do they have today? They have taken our thing, cut off moral education, and they are left with civics. And so we will reinstitute our civics and moral education. Not what they are doing. What was the civics? When we grew up, we knew there was a certain man called Santune Tune. Santune was a commissioner of police for West Cameroon, or South Cameroon. They asked you who was the minister of agriculture. That was the civics. But you also knew that you were asked, you had to learn as a matter of right. Who is the moderator of the Presbyterian Church? Who is the bishop of the Catholic Church? And that sort of thing. So again, this is the time that we need ethics more than ever before to moralize the victims of this war, to educate them, to help them know that after every storm, the sun will shine. They should not lose their moral values. They should not lose their ethical values because of war. Yes, you're hungry. Yes, you are doing this. Don't go break people's houses just because you didn't have enough bread to eat. Though somewhere in law maybe excusable, just eating for survival. But try as much as possible to maintain what you can ethically. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister. SOS, you have something to chip in?
Yeah, I think Barrister has actually put it well. He has Um, you were saying a while ago that why when you went to ENS, you finished without going through any course on ethics. Yeah. So in
Yeah.
addition to the
Yeah.
civics and moral education that barrister Tim mentioned, one other thing that we are going to do as a department in the educational policy of Ambazonia will be to include um, to come up with we will come up with some courses which will be considered as general education courses that everybody who is studying in Ambazonia will have to take. And one of those be ethics. Is going to be one of the courses that any body who's especially at the tertiary level, at primary and secondary level, we will have civics and moral education. But at tertiary level, we are going to have ethics as one of the compulsory courses or modules that before you graduate from any tertiary institution in Ambazonia, you will have to. So we want to, like Barrister Tim said, we want to get back to where we are coming from, where we were, bring back our moral values and principles in our educational system. Like I said before, when we have a generation, a young generation, in this case, students who are morally upright, we will definitely have a nation which is morally upright as well. So we will not take moral education. We will take it very serious. We won't take it lightly, and that is why, like I'm saying, even at the tertiary level, we will make sure that students take courses that are related to moral value. I think that is what I'll add for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Indeed. Indeed. A course on moral education needs to be made compulsory in our new Ambazonia. And it's not just going to be a course with a coefficient 1. It should be a subject that it will be a high coefficient subject, because it is definitely moral education. We need it, especially at the initial stages of our new nation. Thank you very much. So we are all coming
Please,
towards the end of our program.
please, Dr. Titanta, do you want to move towards your left by a few inches, perhaps 10 inches?
This
That's much better now. Thank you.
okay. Yes, we are almost coming towards the end of our program for tonight, and I would like to invite everyone participating in this program tonight to just make your closing remarks, 1 or 2 minutes for every speaker, starting with Barrister Tim.
Well, my closing remarks are this. You see, we have not lost everything. We have lost a lot, but not everything. On this issue of ethics and morality, we have very strong supporters. I remember all of us know, we are still very young. Prior you wrote the GCE, there's a GCE board in Boya. The GCE is the standard for passing an exam for getting any job in Cameroon. But the government has refused to recognize religious education as a subject. In spite of all that, that's why I say we have supporters, we have people in this thing. In spite of all that, the religious bodies, the Catholic mission in particular, they still organize their own GCE religious knowledge. People pay money to write it, pass it, have the certificate, at least to back up their own morality. They are not doing that for money because they know that you cannot use it to write an exam. But they do it The missionaries, the priests, the pastors are not deterred by government's inability or unwillingness to accept morality as a foundation for making a society. So, Ambazonia, I said in my introduction, we are restoring our political institutions. We are restoring the moral fabric of our society. And we would, God willing, if only the younger generation will let go of the past. They have been so imbued, they have been so poisoned with the immorality, with the unethical behavior for the past 50 years. A good number of them who are still young never knew what I'm talking about. But it is difficult to live your bad manners, but it's possible. So let us hope that what we do here sinks into some people's minds, makes us stand up for what is right and throw away what is wrong. And I conclude with this example. I've given this example before on this program. See, we're so familiar, those of you who are young who have just gone to university, who are going to Sunday school, we're so familiar with this practice of girls giving themselves to teachers for marks. That's just the practice. You don't do it, you fail the exam. But in Boya, what a standing example, live. Like Thomas still, if she listen to me, she will follow it. She was in the University of Boya, the Department of Finance. There was a teacher there teaching finance who wanted to go out with her, and she said, I'm not going. This man failed her course, his course. She was not deterred. She challenged him right at the University Senate, told her story, which was supposed to be a secret thing between them. She told her story and defeated this man. This man lost his job for that purpose. So we still have a few people. You have some personality in you. Don't go out for the cheap way of life. Go out for what is rightly yours. Whether you're a man or woman. The 2,000 you take for bribe is nothing. By the time you get home, you have drunk 2 beers with it. You can use your own founder and drink your beer without taking bribe. So we still have this moral fabric in us. Let us not be deterred by the fact that we have been consumed by negativity. Positivity is still possible, and it will be possible with Ambazonia, provided our leadership leads by example. Thank you, everybody, for following.
Thank you very much, Barrister. SOS, you have closing remark?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Titanta. I would say, as a we are aware of uh, the needs of Ambazonians. So we are also aware of the complex environment in which we operate, especially when it comes to education, as well as the difficulties that are associated with education in general. So as a department, we are going to make sure that we develop rich descriptions that will deal with these difficult challenges and create some kind of support system for teachers, for students, vis-a-vis the ethical way in which we will want them to do to carry out their various tasks. I think through that, even the situation in which the things that are happening right around us, we will be able to handle them, and we will be able to bring some stability in terms of educational system. So we tend to establish some correlation between what is happening, what should be happening. There will be a lot of research programs that will try to investigate issues that are related to challenges, educational ethics, and professional practice, so that we help in making sure that we promote healthy relationships in Ambazonia, relationships between different stakeholders, all the stakeholders that we have in education. So these are some of the things that we are going to do. Maybe before I conclude, I would like to. There is something you said before, which I would like to talk to a little bit in terms of catering for everyone, both those who are able to go to school now and those who are not able to go to school. We are going to not only come up with programs for formal education, but we will also come up with programs for informal education, as well as programs for continuing development, continuing professional development for professionals, but also short courses to help build. Like I said before, it is all about building the skills, and impacting knowledge. So short courses that will help to equip some of our Ambazonians with the necessary skills that can take them to the next level. So we are going to cater for everyone, and we will make sure that every Ambazonia gets what they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, fellow Ambazonia. You have all heard. Dare to believe in a free Ambazonia. Dare to believe that we will have our own home. Begin to act now as if you have your home. Begin to act now as if you are already at home. Dare to believe. For you who are in the home front, you, because of the war that has been launched on us by La République, you have not been able to go to school. You will not be left out. The ethical nation that we are building requires that nobody be left behind. We are moving forward and moving forward in glory. Ambazonia shall be a land of glory for everybody. God bless all of us. God bless you, our guest. God bless you, our panelists, and all the team in ABC Amber TV. Thank you all, fellow Ambazonians, for tuning in tonight. And make sure to tune in again next Friday, same time, 10 p.m. Amber time, onto your favorite show, Ethics for an Emerging Nation. Let us educate ourselves. Let us prepare ourselves before that glorious day comes. Have a beautiful night. Bye-bye.
Get trained as an IT professional from the comfort of your home. Dynamic Tech Academy gives you a unique opportunity through our 6-month program, during which you learn skills to transition to being a full-time IT professional. Over 80% of our students have no prior IT background, yet the vast majority of them land jobs a month after they start applying. Our ultimate goal is to reach 100% student placement, so we work with every student until he or she gets a job. Upon successful completion of the course, we will give you a resume, interview preps, one-on-one coaching from experienced instructors, and job placement assistance. Within this course, you get more than 300 hours of theories combined with real-world applications and practical skills you can apply on day one on your job. At the end of the program, Our students can be certified as Red Hat Systems Administrator, AWS Cloud Engineer, AWS Security Specialist. Visit our website at www.dynamictechacademy.com to register.
You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
Go right ahead, Prof. Prof, I think you can go ahead now.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Patty, for bringing me back. I just want to make one appeal to fellow Ambazonians that we have been talking. You've just heard us talk about the Department of Education and Strategic Collaboration. Yes, I am the SOS for that department, and I am alone in that department. And as you know, this is it's a big department and cannot be run by one individual. So I'm making an appeal to Ambazonians of educational, professional background to join me in this department so that we can put our heads together and come up with working documents for the kind of educational systems that we want our nation, Ambazonia, to have.
You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.